Hi, and welcome aboard to this episode of The Buzz, which is everything you want to know and need to know about Abington High School Green Wave Sports here at Abington High. And we are broadcasting from the studios at Abington CAM TV right here in Abington High School. My name is Sean Riley. I am the host of The Buzz, and this is our kind of 2023 season ending edition as we kind of put everything to bed, put everything back into the storage cabinets after the conclusion of our spring season, kind of get ready for a summer and then a really exciting fall. And today I have a guest with me who's been one of the most successful coaches this past spring season. I got our head boys lacrosse coach, Mr. Mike Grafton. Mike, welcome aboard to The Buzz.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you guys, the Abington boys lacrosse team, you know, we hear so much in Abington about, well, the baseball team just went to the state finals and the football team did so well here and there. Basketball is exciting. You guys are now putting lacrosse on the map here in Abington. A fantastic, 14-4 regular season record this past year.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, 14-4, and then we did a decent job in the playoffs, made a deep run, got to the quarterfinals. We lost to a Western team that's a strong program, but you know, we're building towards something. Hopefully next year we can push it a little bit further.
I mean, legitimately, your four losses, I took a look at your schedule. You lost to a D1 school. You're D3, right?
D4.
You're D4, that's right. Yeah. You lost to Weymouth, which is a D1 school.
No, Weymouth we beat.
You beat Weymouth, yes. You lost to Norwell, a D3 school.
Yes.
You lost to Cohasset, which was the #1 team in D4.
Yes.
And then you lost to Plymouth South twice. You had 2 games back-to-back. They're D2.
Yes.
So you basically, every game you played in your division, you won, except for the one loss to Cohasset, which was the #1 team in the entire division. And you guys won pretty substantially. I mean, you started off with 2 big wins against Weymouth and Rockland, which is always a good start.
Sure.
You had the 2 quick losses to Norwell and Cohasset, and then you went on a streak with wins. Let me see. By 8 goals, 17 goals, 15 goal, 18 goal lead. Then you had an overtime thriller against Whitman Hanson.
Oh, yes.
Which was a great game. Then Plymouth South came, all right, fine, we'll chop that up. And then the next 7 games to end the season, all wins, all an average of 9 goals or more. That's just an incredibly productive offense you got running there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so the Norwell and the Cohassets, like they're the elite teams in our league. That's what we're aspiring to become. Norwell, they won the D3 title back to back. So we're trying to close the gap with them. We didn't quite do that this year. They had an incredible face-off guy who he owned us, and an excellent goalie, great defense. But we're building towards hopefully being able to compete a little bit better with them. But the Cohasset game, I was actually quite proud of my team. Like we started out slow in that game. Like it felt like as historically Cohasset destroys us.
Right.
Like they beat us like sometimes as many like 20 something goals. So that game we started falling behind early, and it kind of felt like, oh, here we go again. But it didn't play out that way. We actually fought back. We made the game close. By the end of the third quarter, I think it was like 9-8 was the score. It was a very tight game. We ended up losing 8-7. It ended up losing like 12-7 in the end. But it was a competitive game, and I think that was the moment where we're like, okay, we got something here.
You've got game. And
our teams, we got some guys that can play this game. And I mean, and some of the earlier in the season, the challenges we have as a smaller town is we don't have a whole roster of kids that play club. We don't have these guys that have been playing their whole life. I have to work with defensemen, and I don't know, we're going to talk about some of the players later, but players that didn't play the game before, that are like new to the sport, that I have to get them up to speed, up to this level to compete. But as the season goes, we get better and better, and like towards the end, like our defense was like one of the stronger ones in the division. So it was a great season.
And that lost to Cohasset, you were just talking about. Cohasset actually went on to win the state final. They were #1 in the state. To lose by 5 goals to Cohasset,
right.
And then the other 3 losses were divisions ahead, and then you swept everybody else, which is impressive. And I want to make it clear too. When I said you're winning by more than 9 goals, more than 10, 12, 15 goals, you're not running up the score. There's a reason. It's important that you get as many goals as you can, because the MIA bases their power ranking on that, right?
Absolutely. And that's I have to answer that question all the time, where it's like, the MIA is they cap the goals at 10. And so for us, we always wanted to make sure that we get that number so that we improve our ranking.
Right.
When we finished the season, we were ranked 5th in the state because we made sure we took care of business when we played teams that we were better than.
Right.
But to do that, like it's tough too, because like you may want to get other players in that you want to like develop for the future.
Right.
But as our team was set up, our strength was our offense, and so we had to make sure, like, let's get to a number, and then we can start pulling guys off and putting in another
Get
player.
some game time experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to ask you about that, because that's always a real philosophical debate for a coach and for the athletic department. I know you work with Pete Serino with your scheduling. Is, you know, you want to have a season, a winning record. So you want to kind of make sure you're playing some teams that you're pretty confident you're going to beat. But at the same time, you want to play some teams that are going to challenge you, and perhaps you won't beat, because that's going to get you ready for the postseason.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think you had a great mix to get you to
I think we did that. I think we need to do that a little bit more. So, like, some of the teams that I thought we were, like, I scheduled against some of, like, the D1 teams like Quincy and Weymouth, and unfortunately, I didn't realize that they were kind of going through a little bit of growing period right now, too, younger teams. So, yeah, I honestly, like, the more I can do that, I think the better, because honestly, like, beating teams by 10 or more goals, it's going to help with the ranking, but it's not getting them as battle tested as they need to.
Exactly.
And with the talent we got coming back next year, I'm hoping that, I'm going to be working with Pete in this offseason, and we're going to try to come up with the schedule that makes the most sense.
I mean, in addition to some of the teams that we mentioned earlier, and the kind of the local league teams like the East Bridgewaters and such, you played Milton, you beat Middleborough, you beat Whitman-Hanson. Tell me about the Whitman-Hanson game, because that had to be kind of a fun.
Oh, Whitman-Hanson was a great one, because that's a great rivalry we have going with them.
Yeah?
Like last year, we split against them. All the games were pretty close. It was like, one goal. Or they got us pretty good in the second game last year. But, and then that first game was an incredible comeback. It showed what kind of heart the kids have, because we were down. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we were down like late. It was like we're going into the fourth quarter, and I think we were down it was like 7-3, 7-2, 7-3, and came all the way storming back, forced overtime, like all that drama.
Wow.
Like lots of opportunities for both teams to seal it up. Queenie had to make like a diving body save to keep the ball out. And then we go into double overtime. And I think, fortunately, we won the face-off, took it down, got the goal, and everybody's cheering. It was a great experience.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's great. You mentioned what a great season it was, and we have a real solid group of sophomores and juniors coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk first, though, about this is your second year as head coach.
It is.
Right?
Yep.
So great start, by the way.
Thank you.
But you have been involved for many years with the youth lacrosse program, and I know we were talking before we started the show how important our youth sports programs are to our high school programs, because it just is our farm team that breeds success. Tell me, you mentioned some of the coaches that have been helping out down at the youth league, and how much we owe to those guys who volunteer their time.
Yeah, so
women.
So the current team, like you look at the 24s, they had coaches like all going up like since like first grade. These players, they had myself, they had Coach Quinn, they had Chip Halpin, this guy Dave O'Neill, who no longer lives in town, Michael Splain. So they had all these coaches that were very focused on their development. They worked with me on. We set up like a winter program for them, so that they were playing in the spring, and then they wouldn't put their sticks away. They'd be working in the winter. Right. Played against other towns too that were like a little bit more competitive in these winter leagues. There was like some Duxbury's and towns that we got exposure to. So it wasn't just like this isolated youth league that they were in.
Right.
And because of that, and then the encouragement to play club in addition to try to even develop your skills even further. And because of that, now we're reaping the benefits of it. Now we have like many players that have had, like, some of them are club players, but there's others that didn't play club, but they did this much lacrosse growing up that they're battle tested and they're ready, and they understand the game and they understand where they should be. And
it's amazing, and I've heard it from spectators. I also read about it in the paper how, because they've been playing together for so many years since they've been kids, they're now at when they're out there playing a game, they know where their buddy's going to be next.
Oh,
they
absolutely.
know when he's going to cut to that, what his move's going to be, and they can play off that or be ready for the pass.
Definitely.
It just comes natural now that there's such a blend and a bond between those guys.
Oh yeah, and because of that, as a coach, it's made my job a lot easier. You know, like I give them schemas and positions that we want to be set up in, but I mean, a lot of it is just them like improvising and recognizing, like, you know, where their player is going to be. You're playing the 2-man game, the 3-man game, moving the ball quickly.
Yeah.
And it's worked great. Like they all had great years, high scoring.
Well, that's good that they have the confidence to improvise, but it's also kudos to you as the coach that you give them, you know, the freedom to do that when need be, and then you can reel them back if they get a little crazy, I suppose.
Sure.
So you play here at Abington High School, the home games are played on turf. Are all the lacrosse games now on turf, on AstroTurf, the artificial turf?
Most of them are. There is one school that's still grass, and we have to sometimes prepare to play on them. Rockland, I think they're getting their turf. I'm thinking next year.
Yeah.
But so I'll go down to the Frollo and we'll run some practices down there, because picking up a ground ball, like especially if the grass hasn't been like freshly cut, can be a real challenge.
Different game, right?
Yeah, it's a different game.
Much like soccer, I've heard it from Coach Casey. You know, if you're playing soccer on grass versus turf, it's two different games, different ball speed and all. Everything,
yeah. The way it bounces, sure. The ground balls is the biggest piece. Like just trying to be able to pick it up is.
And I give you guys credit. I personally think that if you haven't played youth lacrosse and you're trying to learn lacrosse in high school, it's a tough sport to learn just how to play, how to catch the ball, how to throw the ball, how to be in the right place. Whereas I don't want to simplify other sports, but you know, you can kind of learn how to play football relatively quickly. You can kind of get lost in the shuffle for a while, but you're exposed out there at lacrosse. You know, a lot of times it's one-on-one play, whether you're on defense or offense.
Sure.
And for you guys to kind of get these guys gelling, the guys who've been playing for 10 years and the guys who've been playing for 2 years, been very successful. Let's mention some of your seniors who just graduated, had a tremendous year. I got to pull up my roster because I tend to forget all the names. Hunter Maxwell, Jake Quinn, you mentioned, Aiden Powers, Lucas Foley, Diego Flades, Logan Duquette, Ryan Libby, and Trent Patterson. Good group of senior guys.
Definitely.
With some character out there and some characters out there.
Sure.
You mentioned Jake Quinn. He's your goalie.
Oh yeah,
Takes a special guy to be a goalie in lacrosse.
I've said this forever. Like being the a lacrosse goalie is the hardest position in any sport.
I agree with you.
You know, you got to be an athlete out there. I mean, the ball's coming at you, you're covering this huge space of net, and you got to be able to move. And then you basically become like a field general out there. Like not only when you're on defense and trying to keep the ball out of the net, but then once you make the save, now you're the guy that's bringing the ball up. You're telling people where to go. Like you're orchestrating the whole clear for us too. So it's a very athletic and a very cerebral position to be in.
Has he been doing that for a number of years?
He has been. I think he did it when he was in the youth, and then I think he reluctantly joined it later on. But he embraced the position, and we were very glad to have him. He was a great athlete and solid goalie.
So you're going to be losing a couple of really good players there in your senior group, but you have an outstanding junior group. And I don't mind saying one of the guys led by is your son, Hunter, and some of his team. But let's talk about the juniors now and what we're looking to see for next year.
Okay, so Hunter Grafton was, he had a great year, big scorer. He's our face-off guy, which is like a critical position. Like in the sport of lacrosse, like having possession is the big thing. The way you get possession is you win face-offs, or you have a solid goalie who's just going to make the saves, and then you're going to get possession that way.
Right.
Hunter was great for us in that aspect, and but the supporting cast was unbelievable. Like Johnny Halpin was he cracked the 100 assist mark as a junior.
Is he playing on defense usually, or is he?
No, he's a midi. He's like a true midi. Like he plays. He'll if we're a man down, sometimes he'll grab a pole and like he can do a little of everything. He's like the Swiss Army knife for lacrosse.
That's great. Good
great.
to have that.
Great heart. But anyway, he's pursuing the 100-goal season, which is a big high watermark for a career. And he had the 100 assists already he's hit. So Patrick Pruitt, another great scorer, hit 100 goals as a junior. Great finisher, a strong attackman. And then so you have Evan St. Martin, another solid, Zach Butchagras, another solid midi/attackman.
Yep.
Just gives us threats all over the place.
it's good to have, if they want to try to double team Hunt or whatever, Pat's going to get the job done. I mean, always a threat, and all those guys again have been playing for years together, so they're ready. You got sophomores underneath them who've been playing for years together, so. You got to be looking good. Go ahead.
Right. Oh, and then a defenseman too, Connor Pease.
Yeah.
I think he's coming back. He was a project that we had a big basketball star, big football star. I watched him at a couple of games. I'm like, oh, I need him to play lax for us, and I picked up the
big guy with quick feet and good hands.
All good qualities to have.
Yeah.
So I think that made up most of the junior class.
Well, you got Wojo is also another junior
Wojo, right? Yeah, another defenseman. Yep.
And let's see, we got Pruitt. We talked about Halpin, Sean Ludlam.
Yep.
And you mentioned Grafton and Butchgrass. Wilkinson's another one, and Simonetti and Spillane.
Oh, Simonetti. Oh, yeah. I'm getting too far removed from my season already. Yeah. I actually gave Simonetti the coach's award because here was a guy. He was a first-year player too. Just knew his role. He was a short-stick defensive midi. He went out there and he just played his heart out. He would just go out there, and I could put him on some of the toughest middies, and I would know that he could cover them, stay with them, and then just get us the ball back and get it to our offensive players so that we can work our game.
I mean, and lacrosse is a game where you got to be in really good shape because you're sprinting, you're running, but you also got to be tough. I mean, people are whacking you. The ball is hard. The ball is fast. The game is fast. It's a special breed. It's almost like hockey with no skates. It's just a fun game to watch. I'm curious, what are your practices like? I mean, are you like a guy who's screaming at practice, or is it kind of a fun, lighthearted practice? What do you do?
I'm not. I've never been much of a screamer. If I do scream, then they know like
something's wrong.
I'm really upset.
Yeah.
For me, it's always been I try to be as structured as possible. Like I have like my practices all down to like the minute. Like we start out, we do a lap, we get into passing lines, then we break into stations, and each station is like focusing on different skills, lacrosse skills that we want. Yeah. Then after that's over, then we'll break more into like game situations where we'll do fast breaks, or we'll work our clears. We'll do our zone ride that I tried to introduce this year with them. We'll do some offensive plays, like let's go 6v6s. So that's more of like my focus is. We do physical drills though. Like I want them physically tough, and so there's some things where I've made like these little mini sticks. And so we'll have the drills with, it's like an Oklahoma drill, except with lacrosse. I'll have a guy carrying the ball and the other one running the other way, and they meet in the middle and they try to not lose the ball. So,
Wow, and you played lacrosse in high school.
I did.
So how do you, as a coach, learn to be a coach? How do you learn the drills? How do you learn the plays? What is it that you put a lot of time into is outside of the time you put on the field?
So this has been an evolving process for me for a while. Like, I played. I played for one of the best coaches of all time. He's Hall of Fame, Weymouth Hall of Famer, Tony Manzelli. He was a yeller. He was more of a in your face kind of guy. But so I tried to do that a little bit, and I'm like, this is just not me. Like I got to be like my own type of coach. But anywho, as far as like coming up with like practice plans and things like that, a lot of it was through the youth, like just. Going to I went to seminars, so we got some training from those. Like I watched YouTube clips. Like U.S. Lacrosse had some like a lot of things like when you have this age group run these types of drills. So like you want to work on like catching and throwing. Well, these are perfect for those. And the biggest thing is just having as many of these in your palette as possible. Like because if you keep on doing the same drills over and over again, they're going to tune you out. They're not going to get any better with it. You got to keep things fresh. You got to. I mean. For me, it's been mostly, networking with other coaches too.
And winning makes it fun, obviously, for any team.
Sure.
That's always a good thing, and you got a good thing going here. You are in the sometimes, I'm sure, awkward position of coaching your own son. Actually, two sons, right?
Right.
You got Hunter as a junior, and you've got Matt, who is a freshman, right?
Yep.
And that, again, Coach Praxis coached his sons as a baseball coach. My brother Ed coached his sons as a football coach. So there's got to be situations, I'm sure that you see a great play and you're proud as a father, you're proud as a coach, and I'm sure you're always wondering if people are criticizing you because it's, your kids out there or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you're putting the time into this, which we greatly appreciate it. But as a dad, watching your sons play and the success with your sons and his friends, it's got to be kind of another good reason, a great reason to get up and get to the field.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a fun ride. I think, so me and Hunter, like Matthew, I don't think has experienced it as much because being a freshman. But me and Hunter, we went through our growing pains with that junior year,
right?
Or my first year, his sophomore year. I'm sorry. Yeah, but we've worked it out. Like, so like,
Yeah.
because you're right. If people are going to look, players, teammates, they're going to look at it a little differently. Like, if you almost have to come down harder on your own kid, because like, you don't want to like show like
Send a
favoritism.
message to the
right,
rest of
so
the team.
It's, yeah. But I think we've worked it out now, and I think most of the players on the team know he's just another player.
Yeah. And he's a damn good player. Really.
Right,
I mean,
well,
I'm saying that. You don't have to say that, because and just the stats just read it. Right now, he's the leading scorer, leading point getter on the team. He's got another year left. You get Pruitt chasing him, which is always good.
Absolutely.
And a lot of high-scoring guys in the Green Wave team with a year to go, which is great. So what are you hoping or expecting from these guys coming up through the summer and getting ready for next spring's game? I mean, I know they have some fall clubs they can play, or fall practices, whatever. Tell me what you're expecting that these sophomores and juniors, who are going to be now the next level of leaders, what do you expect them to be doing to get ready for the next season?
I mean, honestly, like, you can be doing so much. Like, find a wall, do some wall ball, like, throw it around with your friends. Don't put the stick away. But then as we get closer to the season, like you already mentioned, there's some clubs, like fall clubs, like they can only help you. Like, it's going to push you more. You're going to get different coaches. There's going to be there's some winter leagues that I would recommend that they enter as like a captains, just to get them going, getting them working together, playing against other towns that are like strong towns in the area. Doing all that, I think it's only going to make us stronger.
And I would assume running is always good.
Absolutely.
And that can be running on your own or joining the track team.
Right.
Out of high school, just getting that shape aerobically, and
definitely,
being able to play the entire game, really.
Yeah. Oh, and then if we're going to get into that category too, lift.
Yeah.
Like hit the gym. Like, especially like our defensemen. Like, I got some freshman ones that I really want to win the job out. I like these are guys that have actually played lacrosse there for a big portion of their lives. That you got to get big and strong. You got to be able to, like, because if you don't have those legs, they're going to run you over.
Yeah. And the difference of a sophomore to a junior, they come back the next season, oh my God, they've grown 4 inches and they put on 30 pounds.
Definitely.
And then junior to senior. And so some of these freshmen, sophomores who are playing against junior, senior, they got to be ready for that. And here at Abington High School, we're blessed with a wonderful fitness center.
Oh, definitely.
And some great trainers and athletic staff and coaches that always help out. And we'll talk more about that in the second half of the show.
Okay.
I'm just very happy for your success, Coach, and for your team. Really looking forward to next season. Should be a fantastic season. And I hope that, I know these guys are all going to be gunning for it, getting ready, and just, working hard to be ready. And, let's bring Cohasset back to Abington and take another shot at them. Let's go back at Rockland. Anybody that as a coach, let's say you asked this on behalf of the team. Are there one or two teams the team really likes to try to make sure that they put that in the win column every year?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Rockland, for sure.
I think that's straight across the board in all the sports, right?
Yeah. Those wins are always sweeter. And then Whitman-Hanson, we've got that nice rivalry with them, too. And
part of that, it's no disrespect to Rockland or to Whitman-Hanson, but it's really, I think, because the kids know each other.
Right.
They're jarring each other. I saw, I think it was your son, actually, was talking about the East Bridgewater game early on in the season. His buddy Ian Barrett, who now lives in East Bridgewater, was originally from Abington. They were kind of joking online before the game, and Ian was predicting East Bridgewater was going to win by a couple of goals. Didn't happen. Abington took it to him. And, so they get bragging rights for a year.
Definitely.
So it's always fun for the Abington kids to be able to have that over on the Rockland kids. And, there are times when the Rockland kids get it over on the Abington kids.
Sure.
But with Coach Grafton at the helm, we're going to try to make sure that more often than not, the Green Wave get the nod. So, Coach, I want to thank you for joining us here on The Buzz. Again, congratulations on a tremendous season, going deep into the MIA playoffs, a 14-4 regular season. Best Green Wave, my best recollection, one of the best seasons in Abington Green Wave sports lacrosse, men's lacrosse history. So we'll have a lot more to talk about lacrosse as we approach our 2023-2024 group of games and seasons. But we're going to take a break right now and come back with someone who kind of helps out every single team here at Abington High School, gets them ready, and when there's an injury, she gets them back as soon as possible. She is really just a diamond in the rough that everybody is thankful that we've got Alicia Reid in the house, and she's going to be joining us in just a sec, right after this.
In roughly 10 years, there will be catastrophic, irreversible damage to the atmosphere.
People produce 380 million tons of plastic each year. Of that plastic, 13 million tons of it leaks into the ocean every year, while only 2 million tons, roughly 5 to 6%, gets recycled.
As we speak, there's an 88,000 ton pile of trash floating in the Pacific Ocean.
By recycling and refraining from littering, you can drastically decrease the amount of plastic that pollutes our ocean and our environment.
This is the only planet we get. Protect it. Throw away your trash.
All right, we're back with our second half of this segment, which is the Buzz. It's going to be our last show of the 2023 season as we prepare for the summer and get ready for the fall season 23-24. My name is Sean Riley, I'm your host, and I'm very happy to welcome back a guest who's been with us before. Please welcome Alicia Reid, our athletic trainer for Abington High School. Welcome back, Alicia.
Thanks, Sean.
As I mentioned before we took the break, you're someone that every student athlete in Abington knows. Every student athlete and the coaches respects and just is very thankful that you're present in this building and at the games. You have now been working at Abington High School for how long?
A little bit over 5 years now.
Wonderful. And you're actually contracted through Brockton Hospital and Signature Healthcare.
That's correct.
So the school basically, or you're hired to work and you're assigned to Abington High School. And you also have a side gig during the summer, which we'll talk a little bit more about. You're the athletic trainer for the Brockton Rocks.
Yes, I am.
The baseball team over in Brockton, which is excellent. Alicia, let me ask you, how did you get this career up and running? And how did you get? You were a graduate out of high school.
I was, yes.
You played soccer and softball. Graduated in, I won't tell you how old she is, but a couple of years ago. And then what did you do to progress to get through to where you are now?
So I went to college up at the University of New England, which is in southern Maine. I really wanted to do something that involved athletics and athletic healthcare. When I was playing here at Abington, we didn't have an athletic trainer on staff. So I didn't know what athletic training was. So I wanted to be a physical therapist because when I got hurt in high school, I would go see a physical therapist and they would get me better and back on the field. So it wasn't until college when I was introduced to athletic trainers, being a college athlete, and I was like, hey, this is actually a faster way to get athletes back on the field. The athletic trainers at the games, they're at the practices. So when I had to choose my major between exercise science, which would be like more strength and conditioning, and athletic training before I went on to grad school, I was like, I'm going to do athletic training, get the hands-on hours with the athletes, and then I'll go to PT school. And
physical therapy,
yes. And I just absolutely fell in love with athletic training. I did my 4 years, got my bachelor's in athletic training, and I said, I don't want to go to PT school. This is so much more fun to be on the field with the kids, develop their relationships with the athletes, be there when they're hurt, get them back to playing safely. And so I decided to stick with it. I joined the Brockton Hospital staff, worked in their clinic, orthopedic office for almost a year before the spot at Abington opened up, and I was so thankful that it did.
We are very thankful that it did. I have to say, you have like the perfect personality and demeanor to being an athletic trainer, dealing with high school kids who are sometimes very emotional.
Yes.
Whether it's because of the game or something else that's going on. I'm close enough to the bench all the time at the different games that I can kind of hear your conversations with some of the players and the way you interact, and the kids respect you. I mean, and sometimes it's your call if you're going to allow them to continue playing or not. And that's it. If Alicia says yes, you play. If Alicia says no, you don't play. And the kids respect that because of the hard work that you put in, the relationships. You mentioned the relationships. You really, I think, have some great relationships with the athletes.
I do. I try to get to know the kids as much as I can before they get hurt so that when it does come time to make those difficult decisions where I have to say, I know this is what you want, but I need to make sure that you're okay and you don't hurt yourself. I I try to develop, that sense of trust beforehand. So like the kids are welcome to walk into my office at any time, just to grab a foam roller or a snack before practice, or just have a conversation, as they're hanging out waiting for their coach to get done with something. And that's honestly my favorite part, when they're in my office not being hurt. But that relationship helps when it comes time to, get them back from an injury, or say, hey, this is it, we need to call it for today.
Right.
And I know it's hard to hear, but it's sometimes
Long
just what's
term,
got to
it's the
happen.
best thing.
Yes.
That's right. And we're blessed with a great facility here at Abington High School.
Yes.
A lot of the towns have the newer high schools, and putting in an athletic trainer office and some of the equipment that you need has been kind of a priority, and it has paid multiple dividends. I mean, like you said, when we were in high school, there was no athletic trainer at
Exactly.
every game. You basically had to call an ambulance, and wait, stop the game, whatever. And now, you pretty much have to have an athletic trainer at every event.
Yes.
Which is great. And so there are times when the visiting team comes to you,
Yes.
something, whether it's a bloody nose or just they twist a knee. You're there to help
Yes.
them immediately. And you mentioned the pregame. It's always kind of fun. I watch the interaction of the kids, whether it's right before practice or right before a game. We'll take basketball, for instance. I mean, you're giving kids a little snack for some kids who just need a little bit of energy. You're making bags of ice, you're wrapping an ankle, there's every little different thing that makes that kid either feel a little better, be a little more confident, or a little more safe. And, kudos to you, how you make that all happen. And I'm sure I'm speaking on behalf of the coaches. They're thrilled that you're there, because you're keeping their players healthy and staying right, where they are. Athletic trainer, you went to school for that. And there's a couple of different variations of, like you mentioned, where you could have gone to physical therapy. So the kids at home who are kind of thinking about this might be something of interest to me. Talk to me about some of the different routes that you could have gone, or any kid could go, if you want to be in sort of that physical therapy, occupational therapy, athletic trainer. How are they related? How are they different?
Absolutely. So athletic training is becoming a much bigger field to be in a variety of different settings. So I graduated with my bachelor's degree. Any kid entering now who wants to become an athletic trainer has to go get their master's. So it's most of the time it's a 3+2, 3 undergrad and 2 graduate to get their entry-level master's in athletic training. There are a bunch of programs in the area. Springfield College is one of them. University of New England, where I went to school, is one of them. I believe, I'm forgetting the name of the school now, but after you get your master's, there's different areas you can pursue. So I chose to go into high school athletic training. You can also go into collegiate athletic training, or pursue a professional career, NFL, NBA, something like that. But there's also newer settings, such as the military. The military have started to deploy athletic trainers with different units to take care of their guys in the field, or take care of them on their home bases. Industrial companies like Amazon are hiring athletic trainers to take care of their workforce, so training them how to lift properly and taking care of them when they get hurt to reduce sick time costs. And there's also the clinical setting where I first started out. So I worked with an orthopedic doctor, did some bracing, casting, home exercise programs, crutch fitting and training, that sort of thing, in the orthopedic office, working with orthopedic doctors.
That's fascinating. I mean, and it's great, over the last couple of years, I've watched you, whether it be a football, basketball, baseball, softball game, and occasionally there's someone with you who is kind of shadowing you. Talk to me about that, what you're doing to kind of give back a little bit, and some of the interns that are working with you. How does that come into play?
Absolutely. So when I was in college, I had to do clinical rotations to get my degree. So I was placed at 3 different high schools and 2 different colleges. So I had all of these hours of experience before I even graduated college. And so I did the same thing. I became a preceptor for some programs. So Bridgewater State University, unfortunately, their program is no longer running, but I took about 5 or 6 students from Bridgewater State, would have one of them for a semester, and then they'd go to a different site for their clinical. This past year, I had Dwayne with me, so I started a new partnership with Salem State University, where Dwayne was from. So he came and he got probably over 1,000 hours working here. And that's, 1,000 hours that, he already has under his belt before he starts to work. of what it is actually like to do this job. And he had some great relationships with the students. They really miss him
He
for
was
sure.
a great guy. And a couple of years ago, you had a woman named Kiana Bueno that was interning with you.
Yes, correct.
Whatever happened to her?
So Kiana is now our strength and conditioning coach for Abington High School. I'm so excited and thrilled to have her back. She's been with us this past year. She's been doing a great job working with our student athletes. I don't think a lot of high schools in the area have someone on staff who is a CSCS or a certified strength and conditioning specialist, and Kiana is. I believe she's also CrossFit Level 1 certified as well. She's also a representative for Noble, the athletics brand. So we're super lucky and super fortunate to have her on the staff working with our student athletes, making sure that they are safe in the weight room, teaching them the proper technique and the proper form so that they don't get hurt, and so that they are just getting bigger, better, faster, stronger.
You know, you hit it on the nail on the head. It is so critical. Not that I'm the guy who is the, you know, poster boy for working out properly, but it is for these student athletes who want to be bigger, faster, stronger. You teach them, and Kiana teaches them how to do it more efficiently and most importantly, more safely.
Safely, yes.
That, you know, there's a way to, you know, squat with weights or to even to bench press where you can really hurt yourself and basically knock yourself out for the season. Or you can do it the right way and you're a better player. You're a stronger player. And we've seen, since we opened the weight room, even in the old high school, fewer injuries. Because a lot of our athletes are coming to the playing field stronger. You know, just their muscles can handle more of the impact, whatever, the twisting, the turning, and it pays off. You know,
Absolutely.
If you come to day one of your season and haven't been running or lifting or whatever, you're more likely to twist something or to tweak something. So the work that you guys do, talk to me about the fitness center we have here at Abington High School, how just incredible that is.
Our fitness center is amazing. It's honestly better than some colleges that I've seen. We set it up so there's not so much a lot of machines, but there's so many free weights and platforms for our kids to use. And it's set up in a way that's accessible for everybody. This summer, Coach Bueno is running a strength and conditioning camp, and it's free for all the kids. So anybody who is trying out in the fall, and even if you're not trying out in the fall and just want to stay active over the summer, they should absolutely go to Family ID to sign up. And her hours are on there, and her contact information is on there.
Is that high school kids?
High school kids, yes. Incoming high schoolers.
Great.
So they can start, you know, work with her. She's got tailored plans, like a whole program set up for the summer, and she can even work with kids to get into some sports-specific training as well. So if you want to tailor your workout more towards soccer, she knows how to do that. More towards football, she can do that as well. So I think it's super important that the kids get into the weight room and see her this summer, because she's one of the best at what she does. And
you know, it is important that to recognize that the whole athletic training education and the effect that you've had on all of these sports, you can see it in just the design of that fitness center. I mean, I don't mind saying, I was on the school building committee and helped design things, and we looked, instead of listening to the architects as what they would have bought for equipment, we looked to our athletic department, and Coach Casey and Coach Serino and others got in there, and they picked the different machines and weights and the different stuff that the kids use. And like you said, it's better than some of the colleges, because we didn't just get, you know, a couple of things out of the catalog. We got the things that made them safer and stronger. And it's great to see so many kids, even the middle school kids, use that. And they get to, one thing I keep hearing from a lot of parents is how the older students, the seniors, the juniors, kind of oversee and watch the younger freshmen, because the things that those older students have learned from people like you, they pass it down and say, hey, you're doing it wrong. And they teach them that just pays dividends of its own. Absolutely. I love to see that in the weight room. And, you know, for kids who are like new to working out and shy to working out and don't necessarily want to, they look up to those older students. When those older students like offer them a helping hand and say, hey, I know you might have been taught this, but I don't want you to get hurt. You know, that means a lot coming from them as well. Right, and I think, you know, as the kids get older, and we've said it many times here at the Buzz, the upperclassmen were once freshmen and sophomores, and they realize how important that relationship is. And the upperclassmen also realize that it's important for their team, no matter what team it is, to have strong and athletic younger guys, you know, so that when someone does get injured, there's someone to step in and they're ready to go. Tell me, you also get one of the best seats in the house.
I do.
What are some of your favorite memories, favorite games that you may have sat through and just really enjoyed here at Abington?
Whoa, that's a very, very tough question. But I think I would have to go back to one of my first years at TD Garden.
Yep.
Was the year 2019 when Will Klein hit that
Yep.
buzzer
From the
beater
baseline,
in
yeah.
the corner from the baseline. I just remember kids running all over the place and me like grabbing the back of shirts saying like, sit down, the game's not over yet, it's a timeout, sit down. That was just an incredible story. You know, there's a lot of backstory going to that. Will didn't play that much going up to that. He was out with a stomach flu.
Right.
And so for him to come into that clutch moment after a key player was benched for a play due to an injury timeout, and he just stepped up and nailed it. And I think that is one of my favorite memories so far.
I'm glad you brought up that team because there was also another player on that team.
There was.
A guy named Derek Nuttall.
That guy.
Related to you.
Yes, he's my cousin.
But more importantly, Derek was an incredibly important player in that basketball team. And he had a really bad knee injury.
He did.
And people were telling us that he was out for more than a year. But he sat down and talked to and worked with a certain person named Alicia Reid, an athletic trainer. And you put him through a regimen of training to try to get that knee back in shape, strengthen it up. And it was unbelievable how quickly he came. People were in awe. And I think that's when some people looked at you a different way saying, oh my God, you know, she's just not a lady with Band-Aids and tape wrap, whatever. This woman is just unbelievably invaluable to Green Wave Sports. And I'm sure Derek himself is thrilled that he get to play a little bit more and not, you know, had we not had you, his career was over.
He put in a tremendous amount of work and able to make that comeback possible. And, you know, I'm sure he got frustrated with me at times for throwing more workouts and more difficult activities at him, but he never complained at the amount of work that I made him do. So he put in a tremendous effort, and, you know, he was lucky. We were all kind of at home in 2020.
Yeah.
I would come over and, you know, do some workouts on his back deck with him while we were all waiting for sports to come back. So I really treasured those times with him. It's not often that you get to work with family in this job. I currently have a couple cousins that are in the program and one more coming up too, which has been so much fun. If you take away, you know, what is your best like day, you know, my favorite times have been like working with my family in this job, working with Derek, working with my cousin Charlie, my cousin Sadie, and I've got one more coming up as well. That's something that's irreplaceable from this job. Like, there's no way to substitute for that.
Well, all the student athletes appreciate what you do, and all the student athletes, even the seniors who just graduated, the underclassmen are going to be moving up next year. A lot of these people are going to continue to work out over the summer to get ready for either their freshman year at college or for their junior, senior year at Abington High School. And they're going to be working with the fitness center, with Coach Bueno and with yourself and with their other respective coaches for their different teams. Some of them work out on their own, but the summer is an important time for them to keep working out, but it also is a time of concern for athletic trainers and the like. Let's talk about summer workouts.
Absolutely. So summer workouts are invaluable in order to come into preseason in shape and stay healthy, for sure. There's nothing worse than having a kid show up to a tryout not ready, not in shape, and then their head's over a trash can for their whole practice and they can't impress their coaches. But it is also a dangerous time due to the heat and humidity around here. So the summertime is when we see the most athlete deaths, just due to athletes being pushed during workouts and coaches maybe not recognizing the signs of heat illness and heat exhaustion. So it's super important for the kids to speak up when they're not feeling well, feeling lightheaded, feeling dizzy, having a pounding headache, you know, not feeling right. They need to speak up, but they also need to stay hydrated as well.
Yeah.
So making sure that, you know, if you are going to be out and practicing in the heat and the humidity, you need to pack a cooler so that your drinks stay cold. You need to have plenty of water. And then if you're going to be out there for more than an hour, you also need some kind of sports drink as well. Gatorade or Liquid IV, something with electrolytes to replace the sweat, the salt and the potassium that you're losing through your sweat. It's also important to avoid the peak heat hours of the day. So, we just drove by the turf. It's 96, 97 degrees outside. We didn't see a whole lot of kids out there, which is a good thing because you can see the heat rising off the turf right now.
Right.
So trying to push your workouts to the morning before the heat picks in, or at night after the sun has gone down, to make sure that you're not in the worst part of the day. And then trying to take all your breaks in the shade, making sure that you're wearing light colored clothing, whites or light grays, so that you're not absorbing any heat through your clothing if you have like black or navy blue on. Wearing sunscreen as well. If your skin is sun damaged at all, it can actually inhibit your body's own ability to sweat as much. So it puts you in trouble if you're not applying sunscreen.
And so if you or your buddy who you're working out with starts suffering from what would look like to be symptoms of heat stroke or heat-related illness, like you said, just kind of headaches, or you're getting hot, you're getting clammy, you're getting lightheaded.
Yep.
Simply like taking a quick drink of water and getting back in there is probably not the answer.
No, you absolutely need to be moved to the shade, start drinking some cool fluids, have ice applied to you, or like a cold towel, cold rags applied to your body. The dizziness, the lightheadedness, those are some of the milder symptoms, but like if you ever get into the heat stroke area, where you might like either lose conscious or start vomiting or don't know where you are or what's going on, that's like a 911 emergency call that you have to make, because you only have so much time to get your core body temperature down before you are at risk of damaging anything.
Right, and it can happen to anyone.
It can.
It can happen to a novice athlete or someone who's been training every day.
Even just someone who's landscaping outside in the heat for too long. It can happen to anybody.
Right, so what are your thoughts on whether student athletes should always work out with a buddy or more, or are workouts on your own okay, or?
I always prefer to work out with a buddy for, number one, accountability. If I set my workout to be at 6:30 in the morning to try to beat the heat that day, I know there's a 75% chance I'm going to hit the snooze button and not actually make it to my workout. But if I know that my buddy is going to be waiting at the field for me for training, then I'm going to go. I'm going to go to that workout. But also there to have an extra set of eyes on you. Say, hey, like, we need to take a water break, I'm getting tired, or like, hey, you don't look so good, like, let's take a seat for a minute. It's great to hold each other accountable, but also look out for each other too.
Yeah, certainly
especially when it gets hot out.
And you have a great relationship, obviously, with the first responders in Abington, with the fire department, the police department. They're basically a radio call or a phone call away when you're at a game. Usually there's someone there from both departments at a game. It's a really great network that the town is invested in for the safety of our student athletes. It's really no longer I don't know what the word is, an extra thing to do. It is a necessity. It's the right thing to do. And I think you've seen it across the board now, not only in college, you see it obviously in the pros, but now it's in high school. Again, when we were younger, there was a lot of injuries, a lot of accidents, a lot of things that could have been prevented. Now people like you really help prevent that, so we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Let's get back to one more thing before we wrap up. Your career has taken you to the semi-pro level at the Brockton Rocks team. Tell me about that, playing with a semi-pro professional baseball team.
The Brockton Rocks are a lot of fun. These guys play a lot of baseball over the summer. It's like 75 games or something, so they're playing 5 or 6 games a week. I see college guys from every level, Division I, Division II, Division III. We've got a couple local kids this year. I think we got a kid from Weymouth and a kid from Cohasset who are playing for the Rocks, so that's always fun when we get some local talent. But I've also had some big names on my team as well. Manny Ramirez Jr. Last year I had D'Angelo Ortiz, which was Big Papi's kid. Gary Sheffield's kid, Keith Folk's kid last year. Wow. So we've had a lot of big names come through Brockton, which has been a whole lot of fun. Pedro Martinez Jr. was with us for a couple of years as well. It's an incredible opportunity. So I get to work with my high school kids during the school year, and then I get to work with my college boys during the summer. So I kind of get a little best of both worlds. I love baseball, and we've been making some upgrades to Campanelli Stadium, which has been cool to see and cool to witness. They redid my office last year, so we have a better training facility for the guys. And they just put in a brand new scoreboard this summer. So if you come to Campanelli, there's a nice new scoreboard in left center field. And it's great to be working with a group of guys that come from all over the country to play baseball in Massachusetts for the summer.
So you're a former soccer and softball athlete
Yes.
out in high school, and you said you played in college. Soccer
I
in
played
college?
soccer in college, yes.
Do you have a favorite sport to watch as a spectator?
As a spectator, I feel like I have to say whatever's in season. I feel
Yeah.
like that answer changes every season. I love to watch soccer. I love to watch football. I love basketball. I don't love being in a hockey rink so much, but I love to watch hockey on TV. Baseball, softball are always my favorites. I love to watch the softball College World Series and the
Yeah.
baseball College World Series this year. I love sports, and I love working sports, and I love watching sports. Usually when I go home from working sports, I usually turn on the TV to see what's on for the game that night.
Well,
So
your
it's a lot of fun.
contributions, I mean, you've been able to be there at Gillette Stadium. You mentioned in Boston Garden. You were there for the softball state championship.
Yep.
So you've seen a lot of state championships from Abington.
I have.
A lot of that is because of your contribution. I mean, the coaches, the kids, and our athletic support, our athletic trainers here, we would miss that if it wasn't there. We would be missing players, no doubt in my mind. So we have to thank you about that. So before we wrap up, if there's a kid out there who's in middle school, maybe just starting high school, and kind of interested in getting into the physical therapy, athletic training, occupational therapy, what would you encourage them to do, or kind of get involved, or come up and say hello to you, or whatever?
Absolutely. Come up and say hello to me. I think that the most important thing when kids are trying to figure out what career path they want to go down is shadowing opportunities.
Yeah.
So this past fall, I actually ran a class at the high school, and I had two kids who were interested in athletic training. They would come and see me last period of the day, and I would just teach them about my profession. We did anatomy, we did wound care, we did CPR, we did taping skills, and one of those students has been accepted and is going to the athletic training program at Springfield College next year.
There you go.
So really understanding what it is to do this job is super important, and the best way to do that is by getting in the field and seeing it firsthand. So I recommend shadowing. If it's not me, I know a bunch of other athletic trainers in the South Shore that would love to take a high school student and show them the ropes. But just getting into the field and seeing what it's all about is super important. I did that before I went to school. I went and I shadowed a physical therapist because that's what I thought I was going to do. And I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. But then when I found athletic training, I was like, oh no, this is better.
Yeah, you got to kind of dip your toes in the water and see what you like, right? And one might be better than the other. Well, Alicia, on behalf of the parents of the student athletes, again, thank you for all your work. Everything that you do it with a smile on it. You do it with the kids in a way that the kids respect it and listen to you, because they know you're an informed person, and that you're doing everything in their best interests. And it really has paid off here. Green Wave Nation owes you a lot of thanks and gratitude. I like working with you. The kids like working with you. And I want to thank you for being on The Buzz to kind of educate people at home more about what the athletic trainer, Alicia Reid, does here for Green Wave Nation. We're going to wrap it up. This ends our 2023 spring season. Take a break for the summer. Make sure that we don't overheat while we're out there working, following Alicia's instructions. And we will get ready for a great season of Green Wave sports coming in the fall. We'll bring Alicia back on, I'm sure, at some point. But if you see her at a game, go up there, ask her a question, or more importantly, shake her hand and say thanks for all you do, because it's just wonderful what we do here in Green Wave Nation to make great things happen for our student athletes and for Abington High School and our community of Abington. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you in the fall.
It goes on and on and on. Remind me of everything tonight. Yes, I'm in the zone. I get a good feeling. Dreaming about the things that we could be. So it's gonna be forever. You already know. That's what tell me when I'm in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Oh, is it too late now to say I need a one dance? And then we start to dance, and I'm singing like, I want something just like this. Might be over now, but I feel it still.